Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Japan and we're going to have a look at another brewery who I haven't had anything from in quite a little while. It's been over 2 years since I last reviewed a beer from these guys, but I really enjoyed their beers when I first encountered them, and they were one of the first breweries that I tried from here in Japan. So for this review we are going to go to Yamanashi Prefecture once again, but this time we are returning to Fujizakura Heights Brewery. This particular beer is the Dragon Mosaic and it comes in at 7% ABV. This one's a Weizenbock, which is actually a fairly popular style here in Japan. You don't find too many of them over in Europe these days from what I've seen, and it's hopped with Mosaic hops, which is kind of an unusual combination. I've never heard of a Mosaic hopped Weizenbock before, so if you have heard of one yourself, do let me know about that in the comments section below. But this is a brewery that I was always very impressed with back in the day. It was their Rauch beer that really kind of got my attention, and it's definitely cool to try something a little bit different from these guys, especially when I haven't had anything from them in about 2 years. So I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one. Hopefully it's a good beer, and I hope that you're enjoying this little Japanese mini-series that I'm filming for you while I'm here in Osaka over Christmas 2019. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. So as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Fujizakura Heights beer before. Hopefully I can add some more in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Japanese beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Fujizakura Heights beer then, on to my brewery notes. So this brewery, as I mentioned to you earlier on, is based in Yamanashi Prefecture, which is out to the west of Tokyo, and you can find it near Kawaguchi Lake, which is in the Mount Fuji region of Japan. So the company is known officially as Fuji Kanko Kaihatsu, and their beers are marketed under this name at Fujizakura Heights, basically the Fuji Mountain Sakura. Fujizakura mountain beers, I guess it would translate into English as. But the head brewer here is Miyashita Hiromichi, and he was sent by the company to study brewing in Germany for quite a long period of time, but he worked under a brewmaster in Hiroshima who had graduated from the same academy in Germany before he headed over there himself with a translator for 6 weeks back in 1996. Upon his return to Japan, he studied for a further 2 months under Iwate before kind of starting his own brewing operations. So these guys are yet another of the breweries who've started up in the kind of mid-late 90s when the laws were changed to allow smaller volume brewing in Japan. So the brewery that have a restaurant, this is called Sylvan's, and they basically wanted Miyashita to, go over to Germany and learn how to brew a Rauch beer, because they felt that this kind of beer style would suit the atmosphere of the restaurant and suit the type of food that they were doing. Apparently Miyashita didn't really enjoy this style of beer when he first encountered it, and it took quite a while for this beer to kind of take hold, but people really began to like it after a while. But they also have the Pils and the Weizen beer, and the German style beers generally are very popular in Japan. A lot of the local G-Biru breweries are brewing these kind of like Kulshes and Alt beers and Pilsners and stuff like this. But the bosses at this company basically viewed the Rauch beer as a bit of a lost art, and that was the main reason why they wanted Miyashita to kind of focus on learning how to brew this beer. But the brewery now focuses on making its own interpretations of these German beers, and they're one of the most decorated breweries in Japan. For a period of time they also had a bar and restaurant in the Roppongi district in Tokyo. I was there with Casey and Eric from Sotogami Akihabara, which is no longer active unfortunately. I do miss their videos, but this is now since closed, and they're working on their Extreme Project beer series as well, which seems to have some quite interesting stuff. It was an Extreme Pilsner that they released quite recently. But as of December 2019, when I'm filming this review for you, according to Untappd, they've produced around 70 different types of beers, although I think there's only around, maybe 12, 13, 14, 15, something like that. There's only a few of them actually available in bottle, and I've reviewed some of the really quite interesting ones here, and I think this one is one of their more recent releases. I think this beer might have been released back in 2018, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about Fujizakura Heights Brewery for the moment. One of the more established craft breweries in Japan, I guess you could say, and you know, probably one of the more popular German style craft breweries over here actually, and you know, quite rightly so in my experience. The German style beers that these guys are producing are pretty damn good actually. I need to make sure I review the Pils, the Weizen and the Schwarzbier for you at some point, because I think it's the more unusual ones that I've reviewed for you over the last little while. But yeah, if you want to learn more about Fujizakura Heights beer and Fuji Kanko Kaihatsu, to give it its full name, you can check out the website in the video description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can check out the Rate Beer and Untappd pages to see all the different types of beer that these guys have done. So yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself then. There wasn't too much information available on this one on the website actually. It just said that it was a, you know, it was a Weizenbock that was brewed with Mosaic hops, which as I say is pretty unusual. There you can see the lovely artwork on this one. You can see the Fujizakura Heights beer kanjis at the bottom here, or Fujizakura Heights basically, and you can see the katakana underneath that, Dragon Mosaic. So yeah, pretty cool. You can see there's the little sakura leaf, the cherry blossom sort of petal if you like on the bottle cap, which is what you always get with Fujizakura Heights beer. The artwork on this one of course is a little bit different compared to what you get with some of the other beers, but yeah, nicely presented this one, as you always get from Fujizakura. I'm not sure how well that's going to show up on the camera there, but you can see there's a little bit of artwork on the bottle there, so it's obviously their own bottles that they're getting made. But a 330ml bottle this one, and this one was another one that I picked up at Koji's liquor shop Asahiya in Taishibashi Maichi in Osaka. Make sure you check out their Facebook page in the description below and go and visit them if you find yourself here in Osaka. But let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. A 7% Weizenbock brewed with Mosaic hops, which are really nice actually. I really enjoy the Mosaic hop, kind of tangerine and orangey in my experience. But yeah, as you could see with this beer when we opened it up, nice little bit of smoke on the opening. We'll just make sure the head on this one behaves itself, because when sometimes the head on Weizen beers really retains quite well. The wheat helps the head in these beers kind of maintain. But that's a really, really quite nice looking beer, I have to say. So yeah, awesome stuff actually. So yeah, in terms of its appearance, this is definitely one of the lighter coloured Weizenbocks that I've come across. Normally a Weizen beer is very bright and, you know, kind of yellow if you like, and the Weizenbock is a little bit darker. This one is darker than the Weizen that they normally do, but it's not quite as dark as you'll find from some of the Weizenbocks, such as the Aventinus from Schneiderweiss, just near Munich in Germany. But it's a beautiful looking beer this. As you can see, there's a solid 2 fingers of a frothy, I would say kind of cream coloured head on this one. That head is absolutely beautiful. Just look at that on the camera there. That's a beautiful, beautiful head, this one. You can see if I put my fingers behind the glass, the beer has a lovely degree of haze to it. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones just heading up there towards the bottom of the head. But overall, pretty much what you would expect in terms of appearance from a wheat beer. Very, very hazy, but not quite as dark as some Weizenbocks that I've come across before actually. So yeah, interesting little point about the appearance in this one. But yeah, let's have a look at the aroma then and see how we get on with it. I'm really curious to see how this beer turns out. Oh yeah, straight away with this one, it's really quite interesting. I mean, with the Weizen, if I remember correctly, it's somewhere in the region of like 40% wheat malt and 60% pale malt in the malt base usually. And you can put other things and other bits and bobs in there as well. The Weizenbock obviously is a little bit different because usually there's some sort of biscuity or kind of caramel in there too. But the aroma of this beer, it's very authentically German, but it's really nicely done actually. So yeah, straight away with this beer, you get that lovely, big, white bready, wheaty note out of it. The wheat in this one comes across as very smooth. I've noticed that in New England IPAs these days and things, sometimes the wheat can be a little bit pungent and a little bit bitey, but the wheaty notes in this beer are very, very smooth. You've got that lovely sort of clovey smooth spicy note to this one as well. There's a little bit of that kind of candied bubble gum also. And this, yeah, it's definitely one of the smoother sort of Weizen type beers that I've come across. It's very, very smooth, not the sweetest either. The bubblegum notes are quite sort of subtle. They come out at the front of the nose, in my opinion. But also in there, there's definitely a little bit of a kind of, there's definitely a sort of biscuity note to it. I would even maybe go as far as saying there's a little touch of caramel there, but to me it comes across as more of a sort of McVitie's digestive biscuit kind of thing. I really like that about this beer actually. The aroma is very, very nice on this one. So thumbs up to Fujizakura Heights for the aroma of this beer. This is a lovely smelling one. This very authentically German. The thing with the Weizen style and even the Weizenbocks, they're not the most hop heavy styles of beer. I mean, you're lucky if you get sort of 15 IBUs out of this style generally, and that's, you know, that's from homebrewing knowledge. But on the fruity side of this beer and the hoppy side of things, then you do get a little touch of earthiness out of this one. Earthiness, there is a little bit of a darker earthiness that you'll get from Mosaic. That's quite a distinctive characteristic of it. There's also some nice sort of floral aromatic notes, but I would say generally the green side of the hops with this beer really lean more towards the grassy side of things, and I think that's just because, as I say, the Weizen styles of beer generally, including the Weizenbock, are not the hoppiest of things. You can get Hopfenweizens, of course. I've noticed those becoming more popular amongst the kind of new wave of German craft brewers, but to me this is a very kind of green, grassy sort of beer, if you like. It's a light sort of grassy Weizenbock, this one. So yeah, just pay attention to that part of the aroma. On the fruity side of things, obviously you've got that kind of banana note that you usually get from a Weizen. There's a little bit of a kind of apricot-y note to this beer as well, actually, which is kind of interesting. I think that's maybe one of the after effects of the kind of candied side, the sort of bubblegummy side of the wheat and things, and the yeast strain. Obviously, it's the yeast can give you a hell of a lot of aroma actually in a Weizen, and any style of beer, to be honest. The yeast can contribute a hell of a lot to the aroma. But yeah, in terms of the fruity side of things, like I say, bananas, a little bit of an apricot-y note. The clovey spice is really coming out with that as well, but you've also got a little bit of that kind of tangerine-y, orangey note in there, which you would expect of the Mosaic. But I have to admit, if I was to blind smell that, I think I would struggle to recognise the hop as Mosaic. Mosaic is one of the big orangey hops. I mean, you've got Amarillo, which is an oily orange. Mosaic is a kind of lighter, juicy, kind of tangerine-y sort of thing. You've got Mandarina, Bavaria is another orangey hop. Azaka these days too, Waimea from New Zealand, Pacifica, I think too. There's a lot of really nice orangey hops. Sabro is a new kind of orangey hop these days as well. But to me, I would struggle to pick out the sort of the orangey notes, or specifically to identify this beer as being, you know, Mosaic hop. Mosaic is quite a distinctive hop, but I don't think it comes out as sort of pungently or potently, I guess you could say, in this beer as it would compared to others. We'll get a little bit more of that nice sort of yeasty sediment in there. But yeah, as I always say, take a bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But we are going to have a taste of this one now. This one is the Dragon Mosaic, a 7% Mosaic hopped Weizenbock from Fujizakura Heights Beer in Yamanashi Prefecture, out to the west of Tokyo here in Japan. Cool to return to this brewery after about 2 years. Thank you again to Koji for keeping this beer aside for me. Let's get stuck in. Slanja, Skål, Kampai. That's really pretty nice, actually. Yeah. So one of the things that you will always notice with Japanese beers, they've always got this element of drinkability to them, and the main reason for that is that the Japanese generally view beer as something to you know, to sort of clear the throat when you're eating things. The Japanese very much pair beer and food together, if you like. So you'll always find, regardless of style, Japanese craft beers will have an element of kind of crispness and drinkability to them. You get that beer, that exactly from this beer as well. For me, before I went to live in Germany, in Heidelberg, I could really drink Weizens very often, but these days I don't drink them all that often, to be quite honest, and to me it's more of a treat style these days rather than one that I would drink. I moved over to the Helles and the Dunkel and things when I actually lived in Germany, and now I find Weizens quite heavy, but the Japanese ones do always retain that little bit of drinkability to them, and I really think the Japanese are very good in this style. Actually, you'll find some very good Weizens from the little Jibiru breweries over here. But yeah, you can tell when you drink this beer, it is a little bit sort of higher in alcohol and things like that, but it is very well done. But I wouldn't expect anything less from Fujizakura Heights Brewery. They've done a nice job here. Let's try and break down the flavour of the flavour of this one a little bit then. So straight away in the middle of your palate you can feel that nice sort of smooth white bready wheat just blanket in the middle of your tongue, and it actually comes across as a very smooth and slightly sweet wheat. And the further you go into the aftertaste, you'll feel that the wheaty character actually becomes rather sweet, particularly towards the front of the palate. Actually, I like how that comes together. That smooth white bready wheaty note in this beer is very nice. That's forming the whole linchpin of the beer, as you would expect from any wheat based style, if you like. But yeah, if you go into the centre of your palate, then you get the kind of caramelly and biscuity notes that you would expect. That's what really distinguishes a Weizenbock from a regular Weizen beer for me. And in the very centre of your palate, it's got a nice little bit of a sweet caramel there. As you move further out from it, it gets a little bit more biscuity. But you can also feel some of the slightly thicker aspects of the doughy, yeasty kind of elements of this beer kind of sitting underneath that. So you get a little bit of the kind of clovey spice in there, and I think as you move further out towards the edge of the palate, you can feel that slightly clovey spicy note kind of sitting on top of that. But I wouldn't say that this is one of the more spicy Weizenbocks that you're going to come across. It's actually very smooth, and the way the sweetness blends in there is very nice. I mean, this is quite a difficult style to get right, but quite a few Japanese breweries seem to have a go at this one, and in a few videos time you'll see me review one from Y Market Brewing as well. I'm so curious to see how that one turns out on the basis of this one. The Weizenbock is a pretty damn popular style here in Japan actually, and they generally tend to be good when it comes to the Weizen and the wheat style beers, as I said. So yeah, the way that malt base goes together is really quite nice. And I mean, for me, obviously the wheat beers for a lot of people are not the most kind of popular beer styles, if you like. So when it comes to actually trying these ones from craft breweries, for me it's all about authenticity, and Fujizakura Heights are difficult to beat when it comes to replicating German beers in Japan. These guys really have it pretty nailed in my mind. So if, like me and my friend Peter over at the Clueless Drinker, if you're a fan of German style, German traditional beers, this is a brewery that you definitely want to check out, and this is a really nice example of a Weizenbock. That malt base is really nicely done actually. You can feel it. The more you drink of this, the more you can feel that sort of doughy quality, the doughy parts of the bread sitting under the sweeter aspects in the centre of your palate. But as you say, it's got a nice smooth wheaty base to it, and you get a bit more sweetness to it the further you go into the aftertaste. You can feel the sort of caramelly notes lingering there, and also the smooth white bready qualities as well. But the malt base is really well done, so big thumbs up to Fujizakura Heights here. They've got the Weizenbock malt base down to a T. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate you've got a little bit of an earthiness there, which is what you would expect of the Mosaic hop. As you move further forward along the palate, it actually becomes a little bit more, on the sides of the tongue, it becomes a little bit more almost herbal. Then as you reach the front corners of the tongue, there's a little bit of a floral aromaticity there. Then around the very front curve of the palate, it's that little bit lighter and grassy, which is nice. And of course, behind the front curve of the tongue, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters start to come out of the beer. To be honest with you, going by the flavours from the hoppy side, from the edge of the palate in this one, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of German noble hop in here, Hallertauer Tettnanger, maybe even a little bit of Mandarina Bavaria, or even, you know, Hercules or Pearl or something like that, something a little bit stronger in alpha acid than the regular Hallertau and Tettnangers. But like I say, that the hoppy side of this beer is pretty authentic again, which is great. On the fruity side of things then, as I always say, those fruity esters are in that oily bubble behind the front curve of the tongue. The further you go into the aftertaste, you know, you always get a little bit of that banana type note and bubblegummy quality out of a Weizen beer, and you can feel that. It comes out for me more in the aftertaste, and it's almost kind of on the, if you go to the front corners of your palate and move in a little bit, the sort of bubblegummy kind of clovey notes, they're sitting there on the sides of the tongue. But as you move further forward on that oily bubble, it starts off at the back as being a little bit sort of apricot-y, and you can get some of that banana in there, but then as you reach this almost front part of your tongue, you get a bit of that kind of just light juicy tangerine orange that you expect of the Mosaic, and then in the very centre tip of your palate there's just a little teeny hint of blueberry, and that's one of the kind of complexities that you can get from the Mosaic hop, and it's kind of, it shows you that. So I said in terms of the aroma I wouldn't be able to detect that there was Mosaic in here. In terms of the flavour, I suspect that I would probably, if I was blind tasting this, I would probably think it was Mandarina Bavaria that was in here, just because it's obviously it's a Weizen style, and I would think, you know, Germany, Mandarina Bavaria, but it definitely has the orangey, tangerine qualities you'd expect of the Mosaic hop actually. So yeah, Mosaic's a good hop as well. I mean, it's about 13 or 14% alpha acid if memory serves correctly. But yeah, I mean, this is a really nice example of the style. It's not the most caramelly and sweet Weizenbock that you're going to come across. I mean, the Aventinus is a bit of a kind of benchmark in that area, but it's a really solid take on the style. It's not the sweetest one, but it's a nice it is a nice take on the style actually. And it's interesting to put one of these high alpha acid American hops in here, so kudos to Fujizakura Heights for doing something a little bit different, and it seems to be that they're moving in that direction with the extreme beer project that they're doing now as well, so I'll be curious to see what comes out of that in the future. But yeah, a really nice Weizenbock for me. It leans a little bit more towards a kind of strong alcohol Weizen, to be honest with you, but it does have enough elements of a Weizenbock to class it as a Weizenbock for me. It's got that kind of biscuity, caramelly sweetness. So thumbs up to Fujizakura Heights here. In terms of the mouthfeel then, this beer is definitely mid-bodied. The carbonation is very, very smooth. Again, as I've said, you get a little bit of that drinkability here, so it's got quite a kind of crisp and clean and wet mouthfeel to it. It's not the thickest of Weizen beers that you're going to come across, but that's a kind of trait rather of Japanese craft beers. You've got to have that bit of drinkability to them, and as I say, where there's good in Japan, where there's good water, there's good sake, and Yamanashi is a good sake prefecture. You get some really nice things from there actually. So yeah, it's got that nice kind of clean, crisp, sort of mountain water feel to it, this beer, which is great. Malt base is really, it's nice and smooth, but at the same time it thickens up and gets a little bit sweeter the more you drink of this beer. I'd say it's the smoothness lingers there, the sort of smoothness of the wheat lingers into the aftertaste, but also some of the sweet notes out of the beer too. It's well balanced between the smoothness and sweetness in the malt base. On the hoppy side of things, I think you'd be lucky to get 20 IBUs out of this beer. Normally the Weizen style beers are around sort of 15 or 20, not the most hop forward beers as you would expect, but there is just a little bit of a kind of nice floral, aromatic and grassy side to the beer, and you've got some nice oily, juicy fruits, as well as some kind of smoother ones and infused ones actually, pardon me, from the yeasty side of this beer as well. Like I say, a little bit banana, kind of apricot-y kind of note, maybe even a bit of papaya, something like that. But overall, like I say, this is a very nice take on the on a Weizen style beer. It leans a little bit more to the Weizen side of things for me, but it does have enough of an element of the kind of sweet caramel and stuff like that, and the little biscuity notes to make it a Weizenbock. But it's a very solid take on a a German style beer from an authenticity perspective, if you like. So thumbs up to Fujizakura Heights once again for pulling off a pretty damn solid German style beer. I always enjoy reviewing these kind of things. So yeah, awesome beer to try, this one, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed my take on it as well. And definitely cool to return to this brewery after 2 years. It's been far too long. I really want to review their Doppelbock at some point in the fairly near future, but this is definitely a brewery to check out in Japan if you're interested in German style beers. So yeah, let's just leave it at that. This one was the Dragon Mosaic, a 7% Weizenbock from Fujizakura Heights Beer in Yamanashi Prefecture, out to the west of Tokyo in Japan. A really interesting beer to try, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed my take on this one. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Fujizakura Heights Brewery as well, or Fuji Kanko Kaihatsu to give it its full name. And yeah, cool to return to this brewery after 2 years, and we will leave it at that. The Dragon Mosaic, a 7% Weizenbock from Fujizakura Heights Beer in Yamanashi Prefecture here in Japan. Make sure you check out this beer, and do check out this brewery. The Rauch beer, the Rauch Bock are, you know, probably my favourite ones so far, but this one is pretty damn authentic as well. Till the next time, Slanja just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slanja, Skål, Kampai, make sure you check out Fujizakura Heights Beer.